I'm Serena Kennedy, Chief Constable of Merseyside Police, and today I'm apologising to the LGBTQ+ community for the historic over-policing, ill-treatment and prejudice by our force. Policing's enforcement of the law many years ago caused significant harm to many LGBTQ+ people in Merseyside and damaged their trust and confidence in us. We are among many forces in the UK to take part in this public apology.
Well, I remember one occasion back in the 70s. The one experience I had that, sticks with me to this day is that during that time I was a poly drugs user and I sold drugs, and eventually that led me to going to prison, quite rightly so. And my partner at the time also used drugs, and she'd been arrested on suspicion of possession, and she was getting bailed out. So I went down the station to collect her. And while I was sitting in the waiting room, a drug squad officer came through the reception area, and he said, "Follow me," like. So I did. And he took me in an interview room, and he's interviewing me across the table, and he lost his temper and he leaned over the table, and I had a college scarf on at the time, and he got me by the college scarf and he twisted it, and he said, "You bent little," and give me a mouthful. I was kind of pretty much used to that. Took that on the chin, he went, "Get up." He said, "Now strip." I said, "I won't." He said, "I said strip." I said, and I said, "I won't." And he was fuming. So then he left the room, he stood up, with a cob on, he left the room, and within minutes he was back. And he came in with a uniformed officer, big fella. And this officer comes towards me, really menacing-like. And he said, "No," I said, "Strip." So this big fella comes towards me, leaning on me, and he said, "Strip." And you kind of know when you beat, don't you? So I stripped. I was pre-surgical, or pre-surgery, call it what you will. And back in the day, trans men couldn't buy binders. So I wore a crepe bandage to bind down with. So when I stripped, there I was, stood there with this crepe bandage on. They knew what they'd done. They knew what they were doing was wrong. And smirking at me, he went, "Now take that off as well." And obviously I did. I took it off. And basically, I just gripped it in my hand and I flung it at him. And I said, "Well, I hope you're proud of yourself." And it was just a horrible experience, like.
So I joined the Merseyside Police in 1996. I was a uniformed officer in the city centre working out of St Anne Street Police Station. Different times, different legislation, different climate, different culture. I wasn't out as a gay woman. Gross indecency offences were still in place, particularly around men having sex with men. But for me, sometimes these were consensual acts. These were between partners. These were acts of love, and it certainly was specific to men who have sex with men, gay men, bisexual men. And as a gay woman and as someone as part of that wider community, it just didn't sit. I was just listening to comments constantly, people talking about what is now Pride Quarter, about their thoughts on it, their beliefs on it. It's really interesting now to see the journey that legislation, society and the police have come on in those years, and certainly during my career in Merseyside Police.
I was a victim of a hate crime in Liverpool city centre. I ended up with a broken jaw, and my first interaction with the police was when I got taken to hospital. Came into triage and asked me what had happened and took down a statement, and they were very supportive. The gentleman had assaulted another member of the public as well, and obviously I was in a state of shock at the time, so I could only remember certain parts at that time, but felt like I did have a level of confidence in the police, and I felt like I could trust them with what I was saying. I always remember like my father telling me like I needed to be, if I ever had any involvement with the police, I needed to be completely honest with them. So I just sort of had that in my head. I just sort of as honest as I could be. So yeah. For me, given how the police officer that I was dealing with at the time, given how she was sort of passionate about the case and how she sort of handled it, I felt completely sort of like I gave all my trust to her. So I felt like she did everything that she could to make sure that the maximum sentence for that attacker was given. I felt like without her being a big part of the police and also a big part of the LGBT community within the police, I felt like I would have felt intimidated without her. So for me, it was integral that she was a big part of that case.
I got plenty of stick in the past, what we consider these days as hate crimes. And I never reported any of those things. I just got on with it because the police couldn't be trusted and they were part of the problem. The very fact that the police are reaching out and trying to do this is pretty gobsmacking in my opinion. This campaign has been a long time coming and many would say it's long overdue. The fact that it's happening now and it's coming right from the top, you know, will have a massive impact on our community. And maybe people out there who are going through a terrible time, and there'll be plenty of them, if they see things like this, you know, they can feel that they can approach us for help, you know. I know some people don't think we've moved on, and maybe we still, yes, we still have got much further to go, but we've certainly moved so far away from that. And this officer probably regrets the way they behaved. In all instances, I think, you know, it's a long time ago.
I think if the police are apologising, then it will trickle down into society and different branches of society as well. It's not just about being LGBT, I think it's about a lot of different other things, whether that's race, culture, where you're from. I think it's important to sort of, the police acknowledge that we treat everyone equally, no matter where you come from or what your beliefs are. So I think it's important for everyone in our community to sort of acknowledge what the police are doing. The one thing we can all do is just be kind to each other and just be respectful.
We have come a long way already in changing our culture, attitudes and behaviour. And that work will continue thanks to everyone who works for Merseyside Police and our partners in the LGBTQ+ community. I've written an open letter that's been published on our website to explain more about how we've spent time consulting with and listening to our communities, why I'm apologising now and why it is important to do so. Thank you for taking the time to listen.